Hi, welcome to another edition of Hub City Times Presents. I'm Peggy Sue Meyer, and I'm here today with Cathie from Compassion in Action. Hi, Cathie.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about what Compassion in Action is?
Yes, so we actually serve locally, nationally, and internationally. Locally, we've done outreaches like roofing projects, extreme home makeovers, a recovery program for addicts, and we have a food pantry and also a foster closet locally. And nationally, when a storm hits, we load up people and take off and help them. And then we also do international missions.
So when you say locally, where are you based out of?
We're actually right from Marshfield, Wisconsin here.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been in existence, for lack of a better term?
Sure. So we've been serving for about 30 years, my husband and I, and we hooked up with different organizations. And then in 2004, we actually developed our own 501c3 called Compassion in Action.
And so once again, what does Compassion in Action do? So if somebody like me is asking you, what do you do? How frequently are you active in being part of this?
Sure. We always have something going on behind the scenes that we're gearing up for, but we answer the need. And really our heart is, there's a lot of hurting people here, nationally and internationally. And so our goal is just to help hurting people. And we just also did an outreach with the whole pandemic, and we were able to deliver I think 900 thank you care packages to people in the ER here and the COVID unit. And then we also reached out and gave care packages away to people that had COVID and were struggling. So
how does somebody get a hold of you? I have some people that need some help.
Sure.
And so how do they get a hold of you? Are there requirements that have to be met?
So we actually have a website, and that website is www.mycompassion.info, and there's contact information on there. So you can email us and just say, hey, we've got this situation going on. Are you able to help us?
And you had different entities of it. So what are they again?
So we do have a food pantry in Arpin. It's called the Bread Barn. And our daughter and her husband just started that a few months ago. So we have a food pantry that's one of the entities of Compassion in Action. And we are gearing up to open up a foster closet called More Than Enough, which we're very, very excited about because we're able to help innocent children that are pulled from their home for various reasons. And they basically come to that foster home with the clothes on their back.
And so you're able to help those foster parents with clothing for that child.
That's
or
correct.
Children.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other parts of Compassion in Action, what other services do you provide?
So we have done roofing projects in the past. We also did an extreme home makeover for a family whose son was terminally ill. And so sometimes they just come in answer to a need that's happening, and we give them different names and raise money for it and then go for it. And so financially, we raise all the money for every project and it flows back out. So my husband and I just retired 4 months ago, so that's so exciting. But we had our own businesses. So all the money that came into Compassion in Action, we're so excited that we get to just send it back out to help people. So we don't have administrative costs, we don't have buildings, and so we can actually say that 100% of everything that's given goes back out.
And how did you guys get started with Compassion in Action? You said you started in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, with your chapter.
Yes.
Is that what it's called here in Marshfield?
Yeah, so that's when we became officially our separate 501c3, but for over 30 years we started with international missions. And I think the key behind it all is that I feel like God wired us to help people. And something happens when we help people. So the first time I went on the mission field, I'm like, oh my gosh. It's such an amazing feeling inside to help someone that's less fortunate than you, you know? And so that lit me on fire. And then my husband got on fire for that whole thing of, yeah, let's go in the mission field and just help people. So we started doing that, and we got some training through an organization called Youth with a Mission. So we led teams with them for a number of years. And then in 2004, that's when we actually branched out to these different ways of ministry, I guess. And a storm hit in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay.
And so one member in our family just said, well, what are we doing just sitting here? We can't just sit here. Those people need help. And so we thought, oh, yes, I guess they need help. Well, let's go. So we had this old rickety RV, and we loaded up a whole bunch of guys with chainsaws and headed south. And we didn't know what we were doing, you know, but we just thought, okay, we can do this. And that's kind of how it all started spreading like a wildfire into all kinds of different ways that we could help people.
So it's not necessarily that you're servicing our area, the Marshfield area or greater community. You're kind of going wherever the need is. If
Correct.
you hear something on the news, you're there. You're going to try and find a way that you can help.
Yes. And because we're a smaller, 501c3, we can't go to every storm, but when we're available and it works out, absolutely, we head there. So.
And where do you get your funding for what you're doing?
So we have a number of people that have gone on trips with us, and the important portion of that, I would say, is that they've experienced it. So they see what happens when you go into these, for instance, ravaged places where a hurricane came through, and the people are able to help themselves physically, but they can't. They're frozen. They're traumatized by it all. And they just stand and stare at it, And so when they go and see a difference that one little person can make, then it makes them excited, and they're like, yeah, I can give $20 next time you go because I believe in it and I see what happens.
So if I wanted to help, what are the requirements for a person to help with these missions?
A heart to help people. That's really all it is. Yeah.
Okay. And does it take time to plan, like when you're going to this? I know these disasters happen like without
Right.
notice kind of thing, but how much time do you have to get prepared to get there?
So interestingly, for disaster relief, it's pretty crazy actually, because when the storm hits and we determine that we can go, it's pedal to the metal. So we have to quick raise some money. Sometimes we've taken down truckloads, like Katrina, we took down a semi full of non-perishable foods and water and supplies for them. And so once we make the determination that we can go, the next most difficult part is finding a place to stay.
Okay.
Because all these people are displaced. And so you call all these different places and no, our building blew down, and no, we can't do this. But that's how we first start, is by finding a place to stay. And as soon as we find a place to stay, then we pull a team together, raise some money, gather products, and usually in a week or less we go.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a challenge because people have to get off work fast. And some businesses it's doable, and others it's just not. Now, like when Katrina hit, I believe that we took 11 different trips to Katrina over a couple-year period. And there were so many business owners that said, I believe in this. You can get off work. We'll figure it out.
So do you have to get permission from someone? Like when Katrina, for example, the example you're giving, when Katrina hit, do you have to get permission for people to come help? It might be kind of a crazy question, but
it's actually not a crazy question at all. So we first find a place to stay, and then we get online and see kind of what's happening, because there are certain areas that you cannot enter here, and some of the places they were still searching for bodies and things. So there were certain perimeters that we could not pass. But for the most part, we watch online to see what's happening, and then we establish the place that we're going to stay at. And that church, or one time we stayed at a homeless shelter, those places will know like the inside scoop, And for instance, when we went into Joplin, I believe it was. We're getting close to the city and we have the radio on with the local news, and they said, you have to be inside this particular parameter because at 9 o'clock they close down and they're policed and nobody can get in. And so we're like pedal to the metal because we had to get to the place we were staying before they locked us out, or we would have had to sleep in the bus, which would have hurt us, but...
And so when you do these missions, is there like a set number of people that you like to be able to pull together to do this? Or it depends on the situation, maybe?
You know what? We take whoever wants to go. For mission trips, we've taken up to 75 people, and we have taken trips that were as little as 4 to 9 people. And I guess the theory that we have adopted is one person can make a difference. And so if it's just my husband and I that go, well, 2 of us can make a difference. We can't maybe make as much of a difference if we have 20, but we just take who can go, and we see really cool things happen. So
neat. It's cool that you can do this.
Thank you.
To help others. And now, currently, right now, we're doing a drive to help you with some fundraising for your organization. Yes. Can you tell us what you're kind of looking for?
Yes, so we're opening a foster closet. We've had one intake day so far. We have another one all day Saturday, and then next Saturday or the following Saturday will be 8 to noon, and then ongoing will be the first and third Saturday of every month. And we do have a list of items that we're needing right now, and so we're just excited. We have the space set up, the bins are labeled, and we're just waiting to get enough in there so that we can say to the social workers and the foster families, okay, here we go. We're ready.
And where is this drop-off location?
Yes, this is at 2209 Spencer Street in Marshfield, and the location is actually on the campus of Center City Church. So Compassion in Action is partnering with Center City Church, and it's in the Orbital building. And so we have our own little space there that they're letting us use.
Okay,
so,
great. And so that one is just starting up right now.
That's correct. Yep, we're just doing the intake for it now and getting the word out there and hoping to serve foster families and those little kiddos within the next few weeks.
And I guess on the note of foster care, I don't know if there's a lot of foster children out there. I don't know much about the foster care. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm not exactly sure the amount. I know there's a very large amount, and interestingly and very sadly, since COVID hit, it has just absolutely skyrocketed. And so the need is very, very great. And I guess I just would like to say from my own experience, the reason that I have a heart for this, that my husband and I actually do, is because about 6 years ago, our daughter and her husband got licensed for foster care. And so sometimes they will get a 30-minute notice that this child is coming. And typically they are pulled for various reasons, and they have the clothes on their back. And so our family would get around them and we would go shopping like, we need a winter coat tonight. We need diapers, we need bottles. And some of those things, when you're taking in a wide range of children, you don't know everything that you really should have there, and it's hard to store it all, you know? And so we would be shipping blue jeans from another family member in. And so there's actually a foster closet in Wisconsin Rapids and in Wausau. Okay. But what I saw over the years is that when families take in these foster children, it's like the house is taken like this, and it's kind of shook upside down, and it's a little bit before it gets settled back down. And so we found that even though there were several in our family to help them, we didn't have time to take an hour to go to another foster closet. And so we saw the great need over the years. And I guess that's one thing that Compassion in Action is about, is that we see the need and then we answer the call when we can. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And so then these are all items of clothing that are donated. So
correct.
If somebody has even new or gently used,
correct,
they can bring that in.
Yes.
To, or they can even bring it to Hub Stay Times during this month,
sure,
and we can get it to
yes,
you. And then monetary donations, are they necessary for the foster and
yes,
for the foster closet
yes,
portion of it? Would that help?
So financial donations are definitely a huge help, because little boys, they don't do so well with their jeans. And it's really hard to find jeans for little boys that don't have holes in them or aren't ruined in some way, you know? And so those finances that came in would be filled where we have weaknesses in some of those areas. And so the other things that we're gathering are new backpacks, and we're going to put together a little welcome package for each child. And so we want new backpacks and new blankets. So we'll have new baby blankets and then fleece blankets for the older children, that it can just be like a little comfort thing for them, and they'll be able to keep that. And so just, you know, trusting God that it's going to be a huge blessing to these kids and to the foster families, because it's hard for them to run around and get everything. So they will actually be going on our Facebook page and entering exactly what they need, what sizes, and then within 24 hours, we're hoping that our delivery team will be able to take it right to their door.
And they can also hook up through the social workers.
Correct.
That maybe place the child in there. They will be able to be directed towards you to let them know, hey, you guys are here to help.
Right. So we have contact with social services now and a couple different social workers. And so we've gotten them our promotional information, and they're excited for when we open our doors.
So this is the biggest thing going on with you guys. Thankfully, we don't have any national disasters happening that you have to make a call on right now.
Right.
So this is what we're tackling right now more is the foster closet.
Yes. So that's what we're tackling locally. Nationally, we have a pretty big plan in place for a little island called Roatan. And so right now we're raising money to send 115 children to public school. Because they cannot go to school unless they have a pair of shoes, a uniform, a backpack, and school supplies. And they don't have enough money for food. So that's just going to the public school. So public school is free, but you have to have all of that in order to go.
And this is a national campaign that's happening.
That's national, yes, through Compassion in Action. So we're raising money for that. And out on the mission field, oftentimes we'll go and build a house in about 4 or 5 days for a homeless family.
Oh, no problem. I'll just build myself a house.
So that's a pretty exciting thing. We did that last year in 2020 for a family of, I believe there were about 6 of them, and their floor was mud, and they had mattresses on the floor that were full of water from flooding and mildew and mold, and so it's a very rewarding experience. But yeah, so we do construction, we also do medical, and we're looking at we're needing an ambulance. So on that little island, they cannot get to the couple clinics that there are because they have no money for a taxi and it's too far to walk. So they just sit in their little villages with all of their medical conditions until someone comes to help them. So we have missionaries on the island that we're working with, and we are in the process of getting a mobile unit for them. So we'll have an ambulance that doesn't have to have all of the things in it that they would use here, but like a gutted ambulance. And we would really love it if someone would give it to us.
Don't blame you.
Right? And so we'll have like a mobile x-ray unit, an ultrasound spot in it. We'll also have a place to examine them and a little pharmacy and a real basic, like a lab.
Not in the ambulance. The ambulance is more just for transporting them from point A to point B, but a facility that they can take them to with those things in.
Nope, the ambulance will be the unit. So maybe we will have in there like the ultrasound portion and the x-ray, the mobile x-ray machine in there, and then the rest of it we may have to have a trailer behind it to have the exam room and the rest of the components of it. So we're actually looking at that ambulance to be the mobile clinic.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe I need a bigger ambulance. So if anybody out there wants to donate a bigger ambulance, kind of a size of a bus maybe.
Yes. Or an ambulance with a pull-behind trailer, we could do that too and have 2 separate vehicles. And we're also looking at starting small businesses there. So last year we took 2 micro businesses to them and the supplies to help them get started, because we feel like we can go there and feed them and feed them and feed them, but how about we teach them to fish? So that's on our radar as well. And we're working with a businessman out of Illinois. He's already started 12 micro businesses there. So we're working with him, and we have a whole list of items that we know can work on the island and a dollar amount for it. And so, yeah, we're dreaming big.
So refresh my memory, because I'm old.
It's okay.
Where is this island?
This is an island of the Honduras called Roatan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's the population of this island?
Oh, boy.
Way to put you on the spot.
Yes, I'm going to have to look it up. I knew this some time ago. The island is like 3 miles wide by 30 miles long. And I want to say, I'm not going to guess. Never mind.
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. And so how long has this project been in the works?
I believe we've gone there 6 years. And we call it the Starfish Project, where we're dreaming big. And it looks impossible, but it's not impossible with God and with willing people to help. So we've been going there for about 6 years, and we did international missions for 25 years to Mexico.
Okay.
So, and also one to Kosovo and Paraguay. But
you guys are a local chapter.
Right.
How many are there nationwide? Of action, compassion in action, sorry.
So there are different compassion and actions, and we are not them. We're just our own entity here in Marshfield.
So you kind of just make up your rules that fit your group?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we have a board of directors, and my husband and I are the directors of it, and just go help people.
Just wherever you feel the calling to go.
Right, yes.
Okay. And you've been doing this, I know you said in 2004 is when you started.
Right.
But when was the first thing that you did as a mission, or what kind of got you down this path?
Sure. I guess I would just say starting to go on mission trips with other organizations. Then we started going on disaster relief trips with another organization. And then it was at that point we said, we need to develop our own organization. So 2004 then was when we started branching out into disaster relief, and then we brought it right here home because, there's a lot of people that feel like, why are you running all over the world when there's hurting people in our own community? And I agree with that, but they're hurting there too. We're hurting all over. Right. And so we're not just limited to only locally or only internationally, but we've kind of spread ourselves out because we're crazy.
No, you have a kind heart.
Thank you.
Did COVID, now you said you gave some packages, thank you packages to like frontline workers during COVID, emergency room workers. Did it affect your other missions that you were doing during COVID, or? It
didn't, because we also do prison ministry. Okay. And so that's kind of ongoing, and that was shut down. And we couldn't have any major events together. And so that's when we just came up with, well, how can we help in light of a pandemic? There's no training manual on this. So then actually what happened was my husband and I got COVID.
Oh, goodness.
And we're like, oh, I know something we can do to help people. Get them some Gatorade, get them an oximeter, get them some Tylenol. And so that's kind of how that was born, because we had it, and let's just say it wasn't fun.
No. So you experienced firsthand.
Yes, ma'am.
What can happen to you.
Right.
What do you have in the works besides the foster closet? Do you have some other things in the works, or they're still kind of in the brain? Because it seems like you're kind of on a mission to help people.
Yes. I guess I would say, the next thing really is the food pantry. And so our daughter and her husband are doing an amazing job with that. And so those are the two local ones that are really active right now. So it's pretty exciting. And actually that food pantry was born out of COVID as well. Okay. Because our son-in-law has had a heart to have a food pantry, I would guess, maybe about 10 years. And then when COVID hit and you saw people losing their jobs and having to go to a food pantry that never really darkened those doors before, he said, this is the time. So.
And we might be looking at their organization next month for Hub City Time.
Awesome.
So we'll learn more about their branch of what's going on.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I guess the only other thing that I would like to say is just that foster care has deeply, deeply impacted our family because our daughter and her husband, Jay and Sarah Holbrook, did this, and their son Joseph took in all these different children, and it's hard, but those children deserve love and affection and everything that they need when they're going through probably one of the most difficult times of their lives. And so our daughter and her husband, Jay and Sarah, were able to adopt one of the little boys out of foster care, and his name is Charlie, and he lights up our lives, and he's changed our lives. And so it's just such an exciting thing to see people getting involved with these little kids that didn't choose what's happening to them and are able to turn their lives around. So there's a national program called Welcomed. And well, actually there's an entity. Let me start over. There's a national program called Promise 686. And one of the entities of that ministry out of Atlanta, Georgia, is a ministry called Welcomed. With Welcome, their goal is to support foster families. And so they look for churches that will have an advocate, that advocate will get trained. And then after their training, they will build what they call a care community to come around a foster family and help them. So I went to training to become an advocate at Center City Church. And so my job is to build care communities to help foster families. So let's make believe that you're a foster family. And I come to you and I say, you know what, we have a care community that's trained and ready to serve you. And here's what we'll do for you. We will bring in meals once a week. We will provide mentors for those foster children to come in once a week, and we will provide respite care for you overnight once a month. And so we train that team in the care community and come around that foster family, because if a foster family does not have support, 90% of them quit within the first year. But if they have support, like, I get to go on a date tonight because you're actually coming to watch all these little kiddos, it helps them stay the course. So that's something else that's happening in Marshfield right now, and there are several churches that have advocates at different churches, and they're building care communities around those foster families to help them. So it's a pretty exciting thing.
It is, and I guess I wouldn't think of that, but I'm taking in a child to help them out. They're probably struggling. They're scared. They're being dropped off with strangers.
Right.
And being torn from their home.
Right.
So they may even react a little bit naughty at times, for lack of better. But I need that support, and it's great that there's people out there that can help me support that.
Yes.
And so this is something that's just starting up, or it's in place right now?
It's in place and it's working already, yes. There are several foster families in Marshfield that have a care community around them. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really a neat idea.
Yes, and so we right now are training one more care community, and we're hoping to reach into the community and contact the social workers when we have everyone in place and say, okay, we're ready to serve a foster family. Can you put us in contact with some?
So what does it take to make this care community? How many people do you need for the community?
Yep, so we usually look at about 8 to 10.
Okay.
Yes. And the thing is that's really cool about it is they ask people to only commit to doing something once a month. So I feel like I can't go there every week, like I'm working full time and I got these kids at home. But, I think I can make a meal once a month. As a matter of fact, I could go to like festival and grab some frozen food and take it to them once a month, you know? So yes, so about 8 to 10. And also when some of those people go into the home, you know, maybe the mom goes, can you just throw the load of clothes in and fold a load for me? So we're in there to kind of help them with those things too, you know? So it's just pretty exciting.
So if somebody wants to help with that, how do they go about reaching one of these communities? Because you said there's several churches that have them in the Marshfield area.
Sure.
How does one get involved with that?
You know, they can contact some of the churches that have them, or they can just go on the Compassion site again and email me. Okay. And I can get them in contact with, get them set up and let them start serving. So, yes.
Well, thank you for joining us
Oh,
today.
you're welcome. My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Hub City Times Presents.
Thank you.